I want you to forget something for a second. Forget premium EVs. Forget 40,000-pound price tags. Forget the idea that electric cars are still expensive by default. Forget everything you've been told about what an EV is supposed to cost, because something just showed up. And it's not trying to impress you. It's trying to undercut everything. Welcome back to EV Price Wars. Buckle up, because this one doesn't shout, it sneaks in and changes the math. Here's the uncomfortable truth. For years, EVs have been getting better, but not cheaper. More range, more tech, more performance, but also more expensive. And that created a problem nobody wanted to admit. EVs were improving, but they weren't replacing. Because for most people, price still came first. And that's exactly where Honda saw the opportunity. This is the Honda Super N. And at first glance, it doesn't look like a revolution. It looks small, simple, almost too basic. And that's exactly why it matters. Because this car isn't trying to win spec sheets. It's not trying to break records. It's trying to win something far more important, your budget. Now here's where things get interesting. Because Honda didn't build this to compete with premium EVs. They built it to compete with the cheapest cars on the road, city cars, entry-level hatchbacks, budget petrol vehicles. And that's a completely different battlefield. Because once EVs enter that space, everything changes. Now let's talk about what really matters, price. Because if this doesn't land right, nothing else matters. But if it does, this becomes dangerous. The Honda Super N is expected to come in at under 20,000 pounds. Let that sink in, under 20,000 pounds. That's not cheap for an EV, that's cheap for a car. And that's where the shift begins. Because now we're not comparing EV versus EV anymore. We're comparing EV versus the cheapest petrol cars on the market. And suddenly, electric stops being the expensive option. It becomes the logical one. Because once buyers realize they can go electric without paying extra, without stretching their budget, without compromising their lifestyle, the entire decision flips. Now it's not, can I afford an EV? It's, why am I still buying petrol? And that's a much harder question to answer. Now here's the part most people overlook. Honda didn't try to overbuild this car. They didn't chase bigger batteries. They didn't overload it with features. They kept it simple. Compact size, urban focus, efficient design. Because this isn't meant for everything. It's meant for what most people actually do. Daily driving, short commutes, city life. And that's where most cars spend 90% of their time. So instead of building for extremes, they built for reality. And when you design a car around reality, you don't need excess. You just need efficiency. Now inside, it's minimal but modern. Clean layout, digital displays, smart use of space. Everything feels purposeful. Nothing feels wasted. This isn't about impressing you in a showroom. It's about working for you every day. And that's a very different mindset. Because most cars are sold on emotion, but owned through practicality. And Honda is leaning hard into that. Now zoom out for a second. Because this isn't just about one car. This is about a shift in strategy. For years, EVs have been pushed from the top down, luxury first, then slowly moving down. But cars like the Honda Super N flip that completely. They start from the bottom and move up. And historically, that's how markets get disrupted. Because mass adoption doesn't come from expensive products, it comes from accessible ones. Now think about what happens next. If this works, if buyers respond, if demand shows up, other brands won't have a choice. They'll have to follow. Lower prices, simpler cars, more focus on real-world use. And that's when things accelerate. Because once competition moves to price, the entire industry changes direction. Now here's the part nobody's ready for. When affordable EVs become normal, premium EVs start to feel optional, and petrol cars, well, they start to feel outdated. Not because they're worse, but because they stop making financial sense. And that's the real disruption. Not speed, not range, not technology, but price. Now, will this replace every EV overnight? No. Will it dominate every market instantly? No, but that's not the point. The point is, it doesn't have to, because it's targeting the biggest part of the market, everyday drivers, and that's where the real battle is. So let me ask you something, honestly. If an electric car costs under £20,000, does everything you need, and removes fuel completely, why would you pay more for more than you actually use? Is bigger better, or is better just enough? And how long does more matter when enough saves you money? Drop your answer in the comments. I read them all. If this breakdown made you rethink what affordable EV really means, hit like. Subscribe to EV Price Wars, because the next disruption isn't coming from the top anymore, it's coming from the bottom. And when that happens, the market doesn't evolve, it flips.